Hi guys, thanks for tuning into Jin Joan Ping Pong, where I bring to you a new table tennis tutorial every 2 weeks. This week, I wanted to take some time aside for the beginning and intermediate players to talk about how to construct your first custom paddle, how to choose the blade, and how to choose both rubbers for the forehand and backhand side. If you've been scrolling through hundreds of pages of different kinds of blades and rubbers on different table tennis stores, and you just can't figure out what to get, stay tuned because I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to get. I'm going to start by telling you what you don't get. And that first thing that you don't get is a pre-made paddle. Those ones that come with the rubbers already glued onto the blade in a pretty package, and they don't even tell you what the rubbers are. So do not do that. Do not do that to yourself. Do not do that to your bank account. It is a waste of money. The first and most important part when you've decided to make a custom-made table tennis paddle is choosing your blade. The part that consists of the handle and the actual bat face that glues together with the rubbers. What you shouldn't do as a beginning player or even an intermediate player is get an overly fast and hard blade. It's tempting because who doesn't want the fastest, latest, greatest things? But as a table tennis player in any other sport that requires accuracy and precision and consistency, you want to start off with a piece of equipment that you can handle, speed that you can handle, a control level that you can handle. And what you want to avoid is getting any blade that's fast. So I know I've said this before, but there's a couple of blades that are going to be too fast for you. Number one, carbon blades are going to be too fast. They are extremely fast and extremely stiff. So not only are they so fast that you can't control them, you're going to be hitting the ball off the end of the table, up into the sky. You're going to be hitting your friends and family out in the audience. You just don't want that. The other part of a carbon blade is that because that carbon is intertwined or actually layered in between the wood layers of your blade, it makes the blade very hard. It's not flexible, and when the ball hits it, you're likely to not feel any of that impact. Why is that important though? You're probably wondering. Well, it's extremely important because when the ball hits the paddle, you want to feel it in the blade handle right here in your hand. Because when you hit the ball wrong, you want your mind and your brain to register what that feeling is like when you hit the ball wrong and it goes into the net. So you remember how that feels. And then whenever you hit it wrong in the future, you're going to feel that same feeling. Likewise, if your bat is not too hard and it's nice and soft and flexy and it moves that vibration through to your handle, when you hit the ball correctly, when you hit a winner or you hit something so beautiful, you're going to feel that and remember how it feels. So you want to have a bat that has feeling and flex. Don't get a carbon bat. And secondly, don't get a wooden bat that's too thick and too hard. What do you get? That's a good question. I recommend as a beginning table tennis player to get the maximum amount of control, flexibility, and feeling. You want to get a 5-ply wood blade. Remember that, a 5-ply wood blade. These are just fast enough. They have a lot of flex and they also have a lot of feeling and control. Anything else as a beginning player, you're not ready for it. Just trust me, you're not ready for it. The next most important part of your table tennis paddle when you're building it for the first time is deciding what kind of forehand style you're going to play. Are you going to play European style or are you going to play Chinese style? If you're going to play European style, I'm going to recommend as a beginner that you get a normal inverted rubber, so that flat surface on the top, that is not a tensor rubber. What is a tensor rubber? A tensor rubber is this rubber surface at the factory. They stretch it out and then they glue it to that rubber, they glue that rubber to the sponge. What does that do? That stretching out, it creates a trampoline effect with the rubber. That means that the ball is going to be bouncing off faster. As I mentioned to you earlier, fast is not good for a developing, intermediate, or beginning player. So you want to get a non-tensor, I would say medium tacky inverted rubber. The Chinese technique requires that you play with a Chinese sticky rubber, and this is also inverted and flat on the surface. The difference is that the Chinese rubber is extremely sticky. So let me show you guys this. This is my Chinese rubber here, and as you can see, it sticks for a long time. That's just how sticky it is. If you take the European style of rubber and try to do that, it's not going to stick. It's just completely different. Watch those Chinese and European players and decide what kind of playing you want to do, because this rubber is going to make you play in a completely different way. The benefit of playing the Chinese style with this sticky rubber is actually that stickiness when you do a serve return. If there's a lot of spin, it's not very spin sensitive. So when that spinny ball hits it, it's actually going to kill the spin quite a bit, allowing you to play a really easy short game in the beginning. I'm not saying that you can't learn to do that with a European technique or European style of rubber, but it is a little bit harder as a beginner to do that with that European rubber because it's bouncier. The third component, and not the least important by any means, is choosing the backhand rubber for your first custom table tennis paddle. This is a lot easier to do than choosing your forehand rubber because you don't really have to decide what kind of technique it is that you'll be playing before buying your backhand rubber. Most players, whether they be pros from Asia, pros from Europe, pros from the United States, use a European tensor style of rubber on their backhand. Earlier I said you can't use a tensor rubber on your forehand because it's too fast. But for the backhand, you have a much shorter stroke and you actually need that extra bit of speed to compensate for the weakness of the backhand stroke itself. You can get the European tensor rubber for your backhand, but the sponge underneath, these are rated by hardness and softness. You need to get a soft sponge. Why a soft sponge? Because that softness of the sponge will let the ball sink into that rubber a little bit more and give you more control with your backhand strokes. You're getting a double benefit from that European tensor rubber when you're getting it with a soft sponge. A bonus tip for you guys, and a lot of us worry about this when we first buy the equipment, is how are we going to put all of these things that we buy together into this bat right here? Most major table tennis suppliers online, once you buy the forehand and the backhand rubber and the blade, and they're all in your shopping cart, they give you an option to assemble the paddle for you, and they will make the paddle and ship it to you ready to play. So remember that you actually may get that assembly for free. That's everything that you need to know to make your first custom table tennis paddle. Again, this really applies to the beginner and the intermediate players out there that need a bat or a paddle setup that's going to allow them to develop their technique and advance the level of control and also precision that they have in this early stage of their game. If you guys have different opinions on what kind of equipment a beginner or intermediate player should use, leave your thoughts in the comment box below. Also, if you have questions, leave a comment. If you found the video helpful and you do use this information to create your first custom table tennis paddle, like the video for me. Also, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel for future content. I want to thank you guys again for stopping by my channel. My name is Jin Joan, and I will see you next time.